Mr. Evelyn?
Here.
Mr. Moyer? Ms. Pearson?
Here.
Mr. Steers?
Here.
And Ms. Stewart?
Here.
Thank you all for being here. First thing on the agenda today is the Arts Alive annual update and FY27 budget request from Arts Alive President Patricia Hilton and past President, the Honorable Ellen Davis.
Well, I am honored. Good morning.
Yep.
Thank you for.
Yeah, if you will.
Sit down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Push the red button.
Okay, there you go. Thank you for the opportunity for letting us come up here again. I'm not going to spend a lot of time because looking at your agenda, it looks like y'all got a lot to discuss this morning. And we've given you the information about what we're doing. And what we will be doing is what I want to talk about more than what we've done in the past. And we are requesting again $10,000, which could include the matching grant that comes from Virginia VEA. Commission for the Arts, VCA. We are, of course, doing our performances. We're doing our camps. We're very excited then that we're reaching out further into our service areas. We've negotiated an agreement with Providence Forge Presbyterian Church where we will be offering visual art sessions there. Our first one is coming up this Saturday?
Friday.
And that's exciting that we're doing this in New Kent. I will tell you we were able to get a grant from Dominion for $1,000, and it was earmarked specifically for scholarships for kids for the camp in King and Queen County. I can't get it for New Kent, I can't get it for West Point, and I can't get it for King William because the median household income is too high. But there were 4 kids last summer from King and Queen County that came to art camp that would never have had that opportunity had it not been for that $1,000. We were really excited about that. We would love to be able to do a camp in New Kent at one of the New Kent schools. And what is stopping us is West Point does not charge us for the facility. No rent for the facility. Now, we pay for everything else. We pay for security. We pay for janitorial services. We pay for instructors. We pay for supplies. And truthfully, if it's like West Point, we leave it cleaner than when we come in the door because we're really very careful about that. But in the past, when we've approached New Kent, they've said they would have to rent the facility to us. And with our budget and with what is in our enabling documents, our mission is to keep what we do as inexpensive and as high a quality as possible. So we can't pay rent for the facility, but we pay for everything else. So if y'all have any influence with Dr. Nichols and the school board, we will be going back this probably in the late summer, early fall, to see if we can do this again. This summer is already set up, but I would love to see us do a camp or one of our performances in New Kent. We probably have enough kids in Maidstone that could walk to the school and fill up a camp. And a lot of our kids come from New Kent. A lot of our participants in all of our programs come from New Kent. And not just from the eastern part of the county. You know, we've got carpools that are coming from Quinton and Bottoms Bridge and Lenexa. So New Kent is well represented, but we want to see Arts Alive represented more in New Kent. And we can't do any of these in King and Queen, and we can't do it in King William because they don't have an auditorium, they have a cafetorium. So Missoula Camp, which is the performance, wouldn't work there. So we're going to be approaching the school board and probably calling on some of y'all to put in a good word for us because we would really like to see, with the support that New Kent has always given Arts Alive, we would really like to see that expansion out into the county. We think it would be really exciting. We also, as you know, offer 2 scholarships. Very often they go to kids in New Kent. So New Kent's a huge part of what Arts Alive does. We want Arts Alive to be a bigger part of New Kent. So I would be happy to answer any questions you have. I think y'all are familiar with what we do. We just want to keep doing it. We are keeping the cost of our camps and the cost of our performances the same, which means we've had to dip a little into our money because in order to maintain the quality and to get the expert instructors that we get for our camps, we had to pay them more, which is only right and which is only fair. And cost of things go up. And we also, I will share with you, for 20 years we had a $15,000 grant from the Robinson Trust, which ended 2 years ago. And it was not renewed because no one in the Robinson family still lives in the area, which so you could understand why they opted to do that money to something closer to where they are. So we've had to become more strategic in how we've always been very frugal, and we can squeeze a penny till it screams in agony. But we've had to do even more squeezing just to keep offering the quality that we do. So again, thank you for your support in the past. Hope it will continue in the future, and I'll happily answer any questions you have.
Ms. Stewart, do you have any questions?
I just have one question,
Comment?
Mr. Chair. Thank you. Do you keep any data on how many New Kent kids you serve that are homeschooled versus attending the public schools?
I do not have that. Laura Richards probably does, and I will have her send it to you. Do you know?
We have those demographics, but I don't know them right off.
I'll get Laura to send them to you.
Okay, thank
We
you.
do ask what school the kids go to.
Okay, thank you.
I don't have any questions, but thank you for all you do. It's such an important program for our region. I've vowed that I'm going to make it to one of the performances. I have never gone, and I need to because I've always wanted to. And how much are the season passes now?
Go ahead. I'll let Tricia's our money person.
$110
Okay.
for 5 shows.
Gotcha.
Plus, that includes 5 in Matthews. So
Oh, that's great.
10 shows if you want to take advantage of it for $110.
Okay.
So there's your lunch at McDonald's.
There
know?
you go.
Yeah, really. And our Missoula
Thank you.
program, if you have the opportunity, even if you don't have a child in it, it is amazing. Those kids walk in on Monday morning and they have no clue what they're going to be doing. And this year on Friday night and Saturday, they put on a really high quality performance. And again, trying to reach back out into New Kent, our 2 actors from Missoula are now staying at Graceville Hall for the past several years. And Patricia and Larry have been great to give us a discounted rate for those 2 teachers because we pay for that too. So.
Yeah. One thing we want to emphasize about the camp, especially Missoula, is it's not just a week of fun and babysitting for the parents. The kids learn to stand in front of the stage, follow instructions, get a little bit of confidence, public speaking, things we hope them to carry on that they may or may not pick up in a curriculum in school. So we feel like the summer camps add on to what they may or may not get otherwise.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Any other questions?
I just want to tell you, I've been to several of the performances and don't get to go as often as I'd like to, but I've never been disappointed.
Thank
you
you.
guys always put on a first-class show, and hopefully we can get you some funding somewhere you can use the high school or something,
Thank you. And I will point out we have 1 paid person, Laura Richards, and everything else other than our instructors are volunteer.
Right.
So,
And we do have 3 shows in April and May, so you still have time to catch some.
Okay.
We have Good Shot Judy coming up.
yes. So,
All right. Well, we appreciate both of y'all, and we appreciate your organization, what you do.
thank you
Appreciate
so much. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Next on the agenda is the approval of agreements for the Brickshire Elevated Storage Tank and associated Brickshire water line with Public Utilities Director Mike Lang. Good morning, Mr. Lang.
Good morning. Thank you for your time this morning. You have before you actually 2 agenda items, which represent 3 contracts for approval. The Brickshire tank and associated water line, which are a pair. We have to approve both to get the project done. And separately, the Route 249 water line. I'm here today because time is of the essence. We're facing expiration of the contractor's bid pricing as well as the environmental permits that have been secured for these projects. We've pegged the total project costs for all 3 projects, construction, engineering support, and inspections, at $14.85 million. All projects are shovel-ready, permitted, designed, and ready to go to construction with your approval. I've previously discussed the importance of the projects, and I won't dwell on that here, except to emphasize again, these are the projects needed to provide a robust and resilient water supply for our citizens and customers, as well as to realize the economic opportunities that the county has set forth in the comprehensive plan. Happy to answer any questions on the projects. I do want to provide a few important updates since our last meeting. I received a call from Timmons Engineers on behalf of Colonial Downs Racetrack investigating low water pressure on the upper floors of the grandstands during certain periods. The Brickshire tank will alleviate this problem. Secondly, Mr. Hathaway and I had a conversation with DEQ yesterday about our requested increases at Route 33 Eltham area due to economic development interest in that area. And they stated specifically that their ability to give that increase would be based on reducing groundwater withdrawals elsewhere in the county, i.e. Bottoms Bridge. So the Route 249 water line eliminates that Bottoms Bridge groundwater withdrawal and groundwater withdrawal permit and frees up groundwater elsewhere in the county for the projects that the county would like to pursue. So
say that one more time. What's that now? So if we do the
constructing the Route 249 water line eliminates the Bottoms Bridge permit. That permit goes away. That frees up water in DEQ's water model and in their, I'd say their special conditions that they would put on us with the increase we have requested at Route 33. So water not withdrawn in Bottoms Bridge becomes water available in the eastern end of the county. Does that make sense?
so you're going to be drawing from we're drawing from the same aquifer. So why would they care?
Different impacts. Bottoms Bridge is right up against the fall line, and so that has an outsized impact on groundwater levels. Route 33 is in the eastern end of the county. Groundwater is more plentiful. That's the bottom line. Bottoms Bridge is already factored into the Farms of New Kent Central Water System permit. So it's not a transfer to that permit. It's already in there. Bottoms Bridge goes away. And then
it's the way that I understand it is the closer you get to the fall line is the shallowest point, and it gets deeper as you go towards the ocean.
And a lesser withdrawal impacts those critical groundwater cells near the fall line.
So that's a big difference within 8 mile way the bird flies.
Well, it's a good bit more than 8 miles, but it is a big difference for sure.
Well, I agree with Mr. Evelyn. I mean, it's all the same aquifer. To me, it just sounds to me like the money game's going on.
It is the same aquifer. It is a different. I can tell you, I'm a geologist. I've been doing groundwater all my life. It is a different impact when you withdraw in the eastern part of the county and the eastern part of the state versus up against the fall line. And I mean, we've been working with that for 20 years, so this isn't really new information for us. They've just really tightening the screws on progress towards this alternative supply and, again, adhering to groundwater withdrawal regulations. So we have a new administration. We have new people in those positions. Different levels of flexibility to work with us, I would say, as in the past. So I do have one additional update. We've asked Davenport to update the pro forma. We have removed all carry forwards, projects, CIP project carry forwards. We have reduced the borrowing amount to the minimum necessary, which is $8.5 million. We have also removed or deferred all FY '27 CIPs except for the sewer repair project that we are working on now. So this is basically our Hail Mary. This is the best we're going to be able to do. And we have reduced the rate increases needed to between 8.5% or between 6% and 8.5% to accomplish all three projects. So we spoke with VRA yesterday. They seem willing to give us a 25-year loan, which would get rate increases down to 5.91% for the next 3 years, and then 1.96 after that for 2 years. So I feel that is within our achievable range and reasonable increases that we have executed in the past. But again, I emphasize this is the best pricing we're going to get on the projects. This is the best timing we're going to get on the projects. So it is my recommendation that we move forward with all three projects and borrow the $18.5 million. Again, happy to answer any additional questions.
Any questions, Ms.
Mr.
Pearson?
Chair, Mr. Lang, so when we met the last time to do both projects, or all three projects, it was an 8% increase, is that correct?
Correct.
And we're down to a 5.91%
We're down to
increase
5.91%.
for 3 years.
For 3 years.
Every year, yes. What is the average water bill or utility bill?
The average utility bill, that varies depending on water only, water and sewer, water, sewer, irrigation. I'd say water only around $70. Water and sewer around $150.
And that's 5.91% on both, correct?
Yes, ma'am. And
that's per every 2 months?
yes, every 2 months.
So 220. I mean, do you have you should have this
Well,
figure. What is the average annual effect on our citizens if we do this?
The average annual effect on our citizens is going to be, well, again, it depends on what services you receive. But for water only, say your average bill is $100, that's $600 a year.
But it's not 100.
That's
You
gonna
just
be
told me what it
600.
was.
Well, I'm rounding and doing simple math in my head, but if it were $100, it's $600 a year,
So 69.20.
and that goes to $636, right?
Looks like $69.20 is the average if we go with the 220 times 6, correct?
Where did we get 220?
70 plus 150?
70 is a water only bill.
Okay.
150 is a water and sewer
okay.
bill.
Gotcha. Sorry about that. So 900.
So if you did 150, be
So
900.
it's $54.
Yeah.
Then $54.
Irrigation is the X factor. It all depends on how much you use. So we're working with folks to minimize as much as possible.
Okay, so what if we defer it, the second one?
The Route 249,
Yes.
we push till next year. We have to get it re-permitted with the Corps of Engineers. There's some cost there. It'll have to go back out to bid. And I think with the number of bids we got, which was for that one 11 bids, that's phenomenal. We're not going to get 11 bids next time. So I really feel like we've got the best price we can get in a competitive market, and then you're going to get construction cost increase of approximately 10%. So we're probably adding $1 million.
So if we defer it, what is the rate increase?
I do not have that number.
You didn't expect that this might happen?
We ran some scenarios, but that was not one of them. We don't know we just don't know the bid price for next year.
Mr. Chair, I think what were you asking, what the rate increase would have to be if we just did the Brickshire? Is that what you're?
Oh, if we just did
Yeah, I think-
Brickshire?
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't think. It was
It's 4%. It's already baked in.
Yeah, I don't think you.
I don't know the rate increase next year if we award the 249 contract next year.
So that makes it a difference. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
No, that's okay, go
Okay,
ahead.
that makes it a difference of $36 compared to 54 annually.
Yes.
So that 4%, would that take care of the storage tank and the water line as well? Is that what you, both of those
Storage
projects?
tank and the Brickshire water line.
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
right. Also, I think we had discussed to possibly have the Brickshire Golf Club logo on the side of the tank.
We have it specified as the county logo. That's an easy change if that's what we want.
No, I'd rather have the Brickshire logo golf course. That way they get advertising when we have horse racing. They can see it, the fans can see it from the stadium.
That's a simple change in the contract. We'd have to look if there's additional cost.
Okay, well, would you do that?
I'm sorry. The quotes we received did include painting of the tower.
Painting of
Right.
the tower with the county logo.
So it hopefully won't be.
Because that's very simple,
different.
simple 5 colors. That's an easy logo.
Well,
That-
the Brickshire logo is not a complicated logo. It's just a huge B and then golf course written underneath it.
we can certainly look at that if that's what it takes to get the job done. Not
Okay.
a problem. The estimate to put that logo on the Bottoms Bridge tank was $50,000. So just for reference.
Okay? Thank you.
I also have Ted here to answer any questions on the revised pro forma if you would like to ask.
Are there any other questions or?
I do have
Go
one
ahead.
more question. So what is the price of item B and what is the price of item C? I guess is what I'm.
The price of item B is going to be $10.5 million, and the price of item C is $4.35 million.
Okay, thank you.
And those were all within the budgeted or estimated budget.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Mr. Evans.
Mr. Lang, have you acquired all easements along the 249, or we still have some litigation we have to take care of?
All easements are acquired. We are still in the condemnation process for the 8 Jabral parcels. But that process does not delay construction. So 100 days after we filed, we can go to construction. And we filed 15th of January, approximately.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Ms. Pearson? Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
So it's $9 every other month, right?
For the
both.
average
Right.
water and sewer bill.
Thank you for getting the numbers down, though. I appreciate that because
We're
8 was just
I
kind of
cannot
crazy.
emphasize enough. These are very important projects, not just for reliability, but our future goals and requirements of DEQ. So we've done everything we can do to make these the financial priorities of the department.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I do know that I kind of lean on, I think you, Ms. Pearson, and Mr. Moyer have the majority of the water and sewer constituents in your district. And I've always been at the, I've always felt like if you use it, I think I've expressed that to Mr. Lang, it's very important to me that the water people that use it pay for it. So I do hear it out in the community about the water bills, you know, sure, like each and every one of us. So I'll kind of lean on what you guys feel like your constituents can handle, and Ms. Steers, but I just don't want to see it if we had to go 7 or 8%. I mean, it looks like you might have to put it on the burden of all the citizens of New Kent if we keep going this way. But hopefully I'm wrong on that. But
Well, I'm concerned too that the prices are going up. They just seem to continue to go up. And if we do the 6% increase, how do we compare to surrounding localities at that point?
Statewide average is about 4 annually.
Well, I mean, I think this is an exception to that. But I mean, as far as rates are concerned overall, how do we compare again to surrounding localities?
We are higher than most surrounding localities, but again, we're a small system, so we have a small customer base and obviously large projects. So that's the challenge. We don't have, we just don't have the connection fee revenue coming in anymore. We don't have new connections.
Yeah.
So when we do have them, they pay water only or nothing in the farms of New Kent. So
And water is such a vital commodity.
I mean,
For our
that's what's going to
citizens.
control development. The
Yeah.
water.
absolutely, absolutely. So
That's what concerns me. We keep on going up and up. We're going to be forced to. I think I made this statement in our last meeting. You're going to be forced to find ways for hookups, and that's development. And you know, I personally, I just feel at this point, I can support the Berkshire tank and the water line. I have a little concern about 249 water project, but that's just me at this point.
All right, well, we have two different subjects here, so one motion would be for the Berkshire water tank. Right,
I think it's for the water tank and the water line.
yeah, I had two contracts in that
For Berkshire.
tank agenda item.
not 249. Right,
That's a separate item in motion. Yes.
okay,
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion for that.
thank you, Ms. Pearson.
Mr. Chairman, I move to authorize the county administrator to sign the agreement with Landmark Structures 1 for $7,965,000 for construction of the Berkshire elevated tank and to sign the agreement with Water C via Enterprises for $1,594,649 for construction of the Berkshire tank water line.
And if you would add the Berkshire logo.
How much extra is that going to cost?
I don't know, a couple dollars, but compared to the scheme of everything, it's not that much.
And to add the Berkshire logo.
Thank you. Ms. Watkins, would you poll the members?
Mr. Chair,
What?
can we consider the Berkshire logo?
Okay, we'll consider
I'll
it.
amend my motion to consider the Berkshire logo.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Ms.
Ms.
Pearson. Thank you, Mr. Evelyn. Ms. Watkins, would you poll the members?
Mr. Evelyn,
Aye.
Ms. Pearson,
Aye.
Ms. Stewart,
Oh,
Aye.
and Mr. Steers.
Aye. Thank
Can we talk more about B? C. About C before we vote on this. About the,
Sure.
C is Route 249?
Yes.
Sure. Absolutely.
okay. Can you clearly tell me what are the downfalls if we do not approve this today?
Well, we've talked about the adequacy of the backup well at Bottoms Bridge. And based on approved development on the books, Robbins Creek, as well as the Hearth Apartments, that well, Cary Road well, will not be able to supply the water system. So if there's a problem with the Bottoms Bridge well, we do not have adequate supply to supply the water system. Now you're talking water outage, low pressure, boil water notification. That's the worst case scenario. These are the things that keep me up at night.
You said the Hearth Apartments, those aren't there yet, correct?
What are the Hearth Department or apartments?
What are the Hearth Apartments?
Yeah, what are they? Patriots.
186 units in Patriots Landing.
Was that approved?
Oh, yeah. 216 units in Patriots Landing.
That was approved with the PUD and
Yeah, it's
Patriots
been
Land.
approved for 20 years.
Yeah.
It has, but is
Site
there any
plans are
indication
in.
that it's going forward?
They're moving forward with
They
local
pulled their
permits. I
building
believe
permits.
they may have all their local permits.
Yeah, I mean, they're telling us they're ready to go this spring, so. And then we're also getting inquiries about Robbins Creek.
But it could still be deferred and to next year.
Yes, ma'am. I don't see,
I mean, I don't see those apartments being built in a year.
some of them, they said it would take them about 6 months to get a unit up, so. And they were moving forward basically with all of them at the same time. There was not going to be a whole lot of phasing. So,
Any other discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Let's see, Mr. Chair, I have a question before everybody gasps.
Go ahead.
I'm making a motion.
Go ahead.
I have not commented on this because it does not primarily affect District 5 other than us having deeper water, which I'm happy to learn. If we don't do this and we defer, the current increase would be 4% to users, correct?
this year, yes, ma'am.
This year, and it's 4% year after year increase? Or just for 1 year?
It was 4% is already baked in this year.
Okay.
After this year, it was more like 2% absolutely necessary. 4% is consistent with, CPI right now.
And if we add this project and it goes to 5.9 or roughly 6% for this year and 2 years after?
Two additional
I'll
years,
say that.
and then it's 2% for 2 years after that.
Okay. Say that again. I'm sorry. Mr.
3
Davenport
years,
was
3
giving me a
years at
signal.
6%, so starting FY27, and then 2 years at 2%.
Okay.
And those are, of course, the minimums, and do not consider any additional projects, capital projects.
Okay. And if we defer this, undoubtedly that cost will go up because the cost of everything is
Correct.
going.
I would expect if we wanted to do Route 249 next year, I would expect probably 10%, 8 to 10%.
Okay.
Unless we had some sort of additional funding coming in connection fees that we don't foresee at this time.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the question.
Mr. Chair,
Ted? Yes, sir.
I just wanted to say if there's no motion, then it just goes away till next year. You don't have to actually vote to defer. If there's no motion, then it.
Right. I was going to ask, Ted, did you want to make a comment before?
Well, I was just going to clarify on the scenario that we talked about with just the Brickshire tank. That is going to be 4% per year for 3 years in a row. For the Brickshire plus Route 249, just under 6% per year for 3 years in a row. So it's not a one and done. There's 4% a year for 3 years, or just under 6% a year for 3 years.
And that's not taking into account anything else that could come up.
That is not, no, sir.
That's correct.
No additional projects. That is a scenario 4, correct?
Yeah. That would be, borrowing for about $18.5 million worth of projects. Brickshire plus that water line, it's all one. Route 249 and about $2 million of additional carry forwards.
And what additional projects do you foresee coming up that would affect that more?
Certainly any work at the Pamunkey River site. We did retain about $250,000 for that project. But any additional work out there, any additional preliminary engineering, routing studies, all that stuff. So
My concern is if we don't do this, I don't want to see any citizens without water. I mean,
I don't either.
What is the possibility of that? I mean, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but I mean, we're sitting here making this decision, but
hey, I understand. We're relying on machines and technology. So we could have a pump failure. Could happen anytime, right?
But is this going to prevent that from happening?
It won't prevent the pump failure. It will provide backup supply.
Gotcha.
In the instance. We could have a technology failure, programming, right? Just like at the Richmond plant, the programming went down. So that controls the pump. That's, in some instances, more manageable, but sometimes it's not. So, that's how we analyze risk is consequences and probability.
Right. And it's a difference of $18 a year, basically.
Between the 2 projects and all 3 projects?
But theoretically, it's going to be cost down the road anyway, correct? I mean, if we do it next year, it's going to be...
It has to be done.
Right.
I mean, to have an alternate water supply, we have to get that to all of our, not all of our, but the majority of our customers.
Right.
Right. So that's Bottoms Ridge, Farms of New Kent, Brickshire, Courthouse, Woods Edge, Mini Tree Glen, and Quinton Park. So This just connects Bottoms Ridge and Farms of New Kent. The other projects are, in the future. When we started these projects back in 2016, we looked at the most economical and the low-hanging fruit, right? What was the cheapest and got us the best return? And that was the water line that connected Greenwood, Kenwood, Quinton Estates, and the Farms of New Kent. And that worked out fabulously. I mean, the savings offset the cost. We don't have that opportunity anymore, right? There are savings, but they don't offset the costs. So.
Any other comments or questions?
I'll say, Mr. Chair, I think I just have maybe one final comment. I take raising the cost of living for our residents very seriously, especially as someone who does not pay for water. This does not affect me, but I also think that $18 a year is probably doable rather than having one day of not having water. Having lived through the Richmond water experience, I think that if that happens for half a day or one day in the county, we will be seriously paying deeper consequences than $18 a year. And I don't want to see that for any resident. And like I said, $18 does mean a lot.
It does.
But I would imagine that a resident would prefer to pay $18 than not have water. And if I'm wrong, email me and send me a nasty Facebook message. But with that, I would move to authorize the county administrator to sign the agreement with Walter C. Via Enterprises for the construction of the Route 249 water line extension.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart. Ms. Watkins, would you poll the members?
Ms. Pearson?
Aye.
Ms. Stewart?
Aye.
Mr. Evelyn?
No.
Mr. Steers?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lang. Next on the agenda is the proposed lease giving Hope Lawn Management Incorporation on county-owned and land located at 5430 New Kent Highway. Mr. Hathaway.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. For this item, there is no action taken today. This is just for information purposes. This is a proposed lease, a draft lease that you have before you for property acquired by the county in the fall of last year, located at 5430 New Kent Highway. This property was acquired for the location of a new fire station, the replacement of Fire Station 2. When the county purchased this property, the original owner had a request that the business that was currently leasing the property be allowed to continue there until December 31st. The business is Giving Hope Lawn Management Incorporated. They are in the process of looking for an additional location. In fact, they are negotiating with the property owner right now, but they do need additional time. This is a great business in our county. They've done great work, and I would like to keep them in the county. So they've asked for additional time. In our conversations, I proposed to them that we enter into a month-to-month lease. And I believe that we can accommodate them through June 30th. July 1st is the new budget. We do have funds in my recommended budget to move forward with the construction of Fire Station number 2, so that construction work could begin at the beginning of the next fiscal year. And if we are delayed, the draft lease only requires 30 days notice for termination. And they've reviewed it, they're fine with it, and actually they appreciate the flexibility of the county. If this is something that the county would like to move forward with, state code requires that a public hearing be conducted. So we would have to conduct a public hearing at the March 9th meeting, and then you could take action on the lease at that time. But this item today is really only for information purposes and to let you see the draft lease.
Any comments?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
so it's for $1,000 a month?
That is currently what they were paying the previous landowner, who we've purchased the property for, and they've asked that that be continued.
And am I reading this right, that they can sublease this without our approval?
We can.
Yes. We can change that
Yeah, I don't.
after the public hearing.
Yeah, I think we should. Yeah, take that out, or either we should approve.
Right. We'll add language that any sublease would have to come before you for approval.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it doesn't say that right now the way I read it.
Right.
All right, that's all I have.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you, Mr. Hathaway.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the proposed sale of a .34 acre county-owned parcel located at 3402 Ridge Road, Quentin, Virginia. Mr. Hathaway.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. In your package, you have a request that I've received from Mr. and Mrs. Alcee Cave III to purchase land adjacent to their property, to the rear of their property, consisting of 0.34 acres, located off of Ridge Road in the Five Lakes community. This property is owned by the county. It was the location of a former well that has been abandoned. The property is currently overgrown. In my conversations with the Public Utilities Department, the county has no further use for that particular parcel. Mr. and Mrs. Cave has offered $2,500 for the purchase. This again would require a public hearing, so it's just before you for information today.
Thank you, Mr. Hathaway. Any comments? Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
sorry, having it. What can, I mean, I know the way it's recorded now, nothing can be done with it. What can be done with that property? Is it going to be just a boundary line adjustment is what they do with it, or keep it a separate lot? Are we going to require a boundary line adjustment to make sure it's one lot?
We can definitely make that requirement. That is their intentions. I mean, I believe there's some tax benefits to them by doing a boundary line adjustment and making it one parcel. If you look at the map of the adjacent parcels, it really looks like that well lot was cut out of that parcel because the adjacent parcels are the same size as the two lots put together. I did not propose a condition of a boundary line adjustment. They've shared with me that's their intention. We can make that a condition of sale. I believe we've done that in the past as well.
You see any issues with that, Mr. Hefty?
I do not. I think that would work fine.
Okay. All right, next on the agenda is the Draft Technology Overlay District regulations. I'm sorry, go ahead. Mr. Aragi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Again, I'm Josh Aragi, Director of Community Development, here today to present you all with the Draft Technology Overlay District regulations. Again, this is in draft form. We are accepting feedback currently from both elected officials, planning commissioners, and citizens alike. There is a contact email at the end of this slide for those that want to submit written feedback. Our intent is to combine that feedback into a feedback matrix with responses to the feedback and questions that are received. And then obviously that will be distributed at future meetings and public hearings. So the intent today is, like I said, just to get this in front of you and more or less provide a status update on where we are with drafting these regulations. Nothing is final. I will say that, we will certainly do our best to answer questions about the overlay district and its structure and the processes and standards that are outlined within. If there are more specific questions about data centers in general, then we may need to do additional research. I do have Patrick here, our principal planner, to take notes on the feedback and questions that are asked. So again, we can include those in a future feedback matrix. With that, I'm going to let Lindsay start, our Director of Economic Development, and give a brief introduction to data centers.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman Sears and board members.
Good morning.
In the spring of 2025, we hired a consultant to consider all existing infrastructure and zoning in the county to identify areas where data center growth would make the most sense. In particular, we considered areas within a 2-mile radius of a 230 kV line, available natural gas, and available water sources. Currently, New Kent does not have existing land use definition for this industry, and we think that the growth makes sense for a number of reasons. Data center development is already proposed or occurring in adjacent localities. So we're seeing this right around this region. The Technology Overlay District is a proactive approach to identify locations and standards specific to New Kent. By gathering input from stakeholders, we aim to address common concerns such as siting, visual buffering, noise, water usage, and architectural appearances. This allows us to be strategic in our use of developable land that's in an existing industrial corridor. This process aims to diversify the county's tax base and expand commercial tax revenue by ensuring the highest and best use of prime economic development land and support services for existing and future residents. Jobs in the data center industry pay higher than average wages, and they focus on smaller numbers of total employment with strong technology skill sets. It anticipates smaller long-term traffic impacts with lower job totals on site when they're in full operation. And finally, we see the data center industry as an opportunity to develop additional industry growth, like component manufacturing, to support. Now I'd like to hand it back over to Mr. Aragi to cover the process of identifying the district.
Thank you, Lindsay. So just to give a little background in history, we have a timeline here. As you can see, the original contract authorization for the site suitability study was authorized in April of 2025 at the board's work session. Over the course of the summer, we had staff meetings to come up with the preliminary thoughts and ideas so we knew which direction we needed to go or wanted to go with this proposal. We also reviewed the maps and supporting information from the consultant, which was Dewberry Engineering. In the fall and through the winter, we did research and investigation and started drafting the overlay district. In January 2026, we sent the draft regulations for a first round of internal review to both Lindsay, Mike in Department of Public Utilities, and Planning and Zoning. So the site suitability study, Lindsay's already covered the purpose and some of the criteria that was used, but basically the results of that study showed 11 sites that were ranked ideal within the county, 42 sites that were ranked high, and then numerous mid, low, and unranked sites. We took the data set that was provided to us and imported that into our ArcGIS, showing all of the rankings. And our first step was to immediately remove the low and mid-ranked properties. We then compared the high and ideal properties to both current zoning and the future land use map in the comprehensive plan, which was just adopted in June of 2025 last year. We removed properties based on current zoning, future land use designation, and their location, primarily based on adjacent land uses. We looked for the highest density of suitable properties to create the proposed boundaries of the overlay district. We then returned the findings back to Dewberry for map finalization. And on these next few slides, you can see the maps and kind of follow along with that process that I just outlined. So this was the original data set showing all of the rankings for the properties in the county. We then took the lows and mids out and just left the high and ideal sites. And basically what you see here is a swath of suitable land that extends from Bottoms Bridge along the Route 60 corridor and then back up the Route 33 corridor. Again, our intention was to find the highest density of suitable sites, so that way we weren't cherry picking properties across the county that would be suitable for data center development. And we returned that map to Dewberry to beautify it because my ArcGIS skills are extremely limited. So this is the map from Dewberry with the proposed parcels. Some of the statistics related to the Technology Overlay District. I know some of these questions came up in previous conversations. So the approximate gross acreage is 1,800 acres, which equates to about 1.3% of all county land. The approximate net acreage is 1,260 acres, or 0.9% of county land. That net acreage does not account for the buffers and setbacks that I'll talk about later. So in reality, that net developable acreage, by the time you apply setbacks and buffers, should reduce even further. It is important to note that all of the proposed parcels in the overlay district are economic opportunity or industrial in the comprehensive plan and the future land use map. A little bit about the Route 33 corridor. Again, we look for the highest density of the sites that were ranked high and ideal. It is an existing industrial corridor. It's a 4-lane divided highway. The zoning and or future land use of the properties support TOD uses, and there's limited population density in the area. There's also existing utility infrastructure, including electric transmission lines, natural gas lines, both potable and reclaimed water, along with sanitary sewer. The large acreage of the properties that are proposed to be included in the overlay district were partially picked because they have the acreage to allow or to accommodate the increased setbacks and buffers that are proposed. So there are a few supporting zoning amendments that would need to occur in addition to the overlay district as a whole. Those include definitions for data centers and energy generation facilities. We need to add data centers to the land use table. We would need to add parking and loading space requirements for data centers. And we would also need to adjust the Commerce Corridor Overlay District regulations to state that the Technology Overlay District would govern data center development, and the Commerce Corridor Overlay regulations would not apply. So a little bit about the relationship to other zoning requirements in the overlay district establishment. It is structured as an overlay, so it does not supplant the underlying zoning. So if a property is currently zoned economic opportunity or industrial, a property owner or developer could still utilize that property based on the by right uses that are outlined in our existing land use table. The overlay district would only apply to data centers. The overlay district does not limit an applicant's ability to apply for a rezoning under one of our zoning districts. However, we have set it up or proposed to set it up where a applicant cannot apply to be included in the overlay district at a later date. So that action would have to be initiated by you, the Board of Supervisors, with the thought being that we've done this study, we've identified properties that we believe are suitable. We don't want to necessarily expand that without the board initiating that process. The boundaries and standards must be adopted by ordinance. This is a zoning text change, so there are public hearings that will be required at both the Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors. So the allowed uses, obviously permitted uses would be data centers, and then again, because this does not supplant the underlying zoning, principal and accessory uses allowed in the underlying zoning district. Accessory uses are listed on the right-hand side of the screen. They include things such as a water treatment plant, water storage tank up to a certain height. In this case, we've said less than 75 feet. Guardhouse security buildings, electrical infrastructure. We've left energy generation facilities as a allowed accessory use, but we are requiring a traditional CUP and public hearing process for those. The reason being is there's a variety of on-site generation facilities that could be proposed, and we didn't feel that we could comprehensively write standards to address all of them. So we wanted to leave those on a case-by-case basis. Those usually carry additional impacts, sometimes off-site impacts because of associated infrastructure improvements. So we wanted to make sure that those were handled on a case-by-case basis and we could address those impacts specifically. central heating and cooling facilities, storage maintenance facilities, and then other accessory uses customarily associated and incidental to the principal use, which would be a data center. So moving into the design standards that we've proposed, again, these are intended to address common concerns relating to visual impacts, noise, water usage, siting, and architectural appearances. So regarding size and location, we've said that a data center campus, which we're considering to be 3 or more data center buildings, need a minimum of 100 contiguous acres. For a standalone, quote-unquote, data center, which we're saying is up to 2 data center buildings, you would need a minimum of 25 acres. It is important to note that if a subdivision were to occur inside of an approved campus, the internal parcels would not have to meet the minimum acreage requirement. We would have already approved the overall master plan for the campus. However, that does not exempt them from the applicable standards, the other applicable standards, or any discretionary conditions that would have been applied to the overall campus approval. Moving into setbacks and buffers, so we've proposed that adjacent to principal and minor arterial roads, 100-foot setback, 100-foot buffer. Adjacent to other all other road classifications, 150-foot setbacks and buffers. Adjacent to residential and agricultural zoning districts, and again, this is zoning district, not use of the property. 200-foot setback, 200-foot buffer. Adjacent to conservation zoning, 300-foot setback, 300-foot buffer. Adjacent to business, economic opportunity, and industrial zoning, 100-foot setback, 100-foot buffer. And then for internal parcel lines, in the case of a internal subdivision in a campus, your setbacks would be governed by the underlying zoning district, the building code, and fire code. As far as the buffers are concerned, the buffers would only apply to the exterior property lines and then at the intersection of interior and exterior property lines. These buffers are set up to be screening buffers. So the screening buffers are specifically addressed by the Technology Overlay District. The aesthetic landscaping, so things such as parking lot landscaping, building perimeter landscaping, more or less the aesthetics, would follow the existing zoning code. Obviously, we prefer that natural preservation is taken into account, or the natural preservation of vegetation is the preferred approach. And then obviously we would require them to supplementally plant where needed to ensure that we have the intended effect of the visual screening buffer. The planting ratio for each buffer is included in the draft text, and it is based on each width. So it scales as your buffers get wider. The minimum plant size requirements would follow the existing zoning code, as far as evergreen tree, 8 feet tall, 4-foot spread, so on and so forth. The spacing for the overlay district buffers is based on linear footage rather than square footage within the buffer. Generally speaking, linear footage is a better approach when you are talking about a visual screen. It ensures that the plants are spaced throughout the buffer and you're not just shoving all of the required plantings to one side to make sure that your numbers match the square footage of the buffer. When it comes to fencing, we're requiring that fencing be on the interior side of the required buffer. So in the instance that you have a 200-foot buffer or setback, that fencing would be on the inside of the property. We are making exceptions for easements, utilities, ingress and egress routes. We are proposing to prohibit any chain link that enter into the required buffers along easements, utilities, and routes of ingress, egress. The thought being that with the visual screening buffer, you will not see the fencing. So what is internal to the campus or property, we won't see from the road. So if they want to use chain link there, we are proposing to allow them to do so. One thing that's come up in conversations, which I suspect we will end up adding, we received a question about electrified fencing. I think that we will go ahead and move to prohibit electrified fencing. And while that may limit some of the tenants that operate in these facilities because of their own internal security requirements, we want to do what is best for New Kent and not necessarily cater to the industry. And we recognize that with the buffers, resource protection areas, and wetlands that kind of bound these properties, you're still going to have some wildlife corridors. We are a rural county, so we don't want to end up with animals getting caught in electrified fencing or anything like that. Moving into architectural and building height, we obviously want to avoid monotonous appearances, so we're requiring variations in heights or roof lines, building recesses, 16% windows, doors, skylights, and that's pulled from our Commerce Quarter Overlay District regulations. Changes in material, pattern, texture, accent material, and we will probably add color there as well. We are proposing to limit building height to 75 feet from average finished grade to the roof deck. The 75-foot requirement matches our existing allowances in economic opportunity and industrial zoning districts. We have said that you cannot exceed 85 feet total height, which would include the rooftop equipment and any parapet walls or rooftop screening. The reason that we went with these numbers, we did talk to Chief Opet, our fire chief, to understand the existing capabilities of our ladder trucks. So our existing ladder trucks have a vertical reach of 100 feet, so that still allows them to get above the roof line and spray down on the building if needed. We wanted to try and find a balance between a height allowance and something that wouldn't put an additional capital need on us. So we wanted to operate within the bounds of our existing fire trucks, specifically the ladder trucks. With the accessory equipment screening, as with most development, we are proposing to require that accessory equipment be screened from view. That applies to both ground level and rooftop equipment. Variety of screening options there: vegetation, solid fence walls, panels, parapet walls to screen rooftop equipment. Our lighting proposal basically matches what's in our existing zoning code. We're just restating it. You cannot exceed half a foot candle within 2 feet of the property line. Fixtures would be mounted at a maximum of 25 feet above finished grade. They need to be fully shielded, recessed, and prevent upward light scatter to protect the dark night sky. We have specifically stated some standards for signage. We are saying that freestanding signage must be monument style. In the instance of in the case of a campus, we would allow one sign along the property frontage with maximum 8-foot height, 50 square feet in area. Internal to the campus, again, in the case of a internal subdivision or things like that, we are allowing one sign per building interior to the campus with the same size limitations. Again, the thought being limiting the signage at the front along the roadway to one. Interior to the campus, you would essentially have to be on property to see the other signage. So we don't mind that, if they wanted to put a sign at each building. In the case of a standalone data center, again, that would be up to 2 data center buildings. We're proposing one sign along the property frontage, maximum 8 feet tall, 50 square feet in area. Facade signs or building mounted signs would be governed by our existing zoning code. Moving into noise, a common concern with data centers, especially with their emergency generators running. So we are proposing to require a noise impact assessment with the application, and this is intended to evaluate the pre-construction noise levels and anticipated operational noise levels. We are saying that operational noise levels include the generator maintenance and readiness testing. However, it does not count the emergency, like a true emergency operation. We're requiring an additional noise impact assessment within 3 months of beginning operations at each building. The reason that we're saying with each building is because as more buildings come online, more generators come online, we want to ensure that they are still in compliance with the overall noise requirements. We're also requiring a assessment when alterations or modifications to the operations are made or modifications to the equipment. We are proposing 65 decibels in the daytime hours, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., and 60 decibels 8 p.m. to 7 a.m. This is lower than our existing noise level that's in our code currently. We are providing exceptions for pre-construction noise levels greater than those limits, recognizing that, again, Route 33 is an existing industrial corridor, and we cannot control the noise of traffic. So with these measurements being proposed to be taken at the property lines, if a pre-noise level along the property frontage is 70 decibels, then that would be the noise limit then. Again, those limits do not include construction noise or generators running during an emergency, but it would include the maintenance and readiness testing for the generators. We've left generator testing relatively broad. We've just limited when they can generator test, so 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. The reason that we've done that is the state Department of Environmental Quality handles the air permitting. And part of that permit process is they generally like to see a maintenance and readiness testing schedule submitted with that application. The frequency and duration that you need to run these to test them to ensure they're ready depends on the generator model, engine manufacturer, and things like that. So we've just left it that between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Monday to Friday, you can do generator testing, but we're not saying 2 hours per day, 1 hour per week, or anything like that. We'll leave that to the conditions of the state and the air permitting process, since we don't have any control over that process. Moving into cooling and water usage, we have proposed that cooling systems must be closed loop or air cooled. Closed loop essentially is a sealed self-contained circuit that continuously recirculates cooling fluid. That could be water glycol mix to prevent freezing. Generally speaking, that requires an initial major fill with periodic topping off. Air cooled obviously has minimal water usage, but it does carry a larger power demand. Reclaimed water is our preferred water source to cool these facilities. That follows our groundwater permit or groundwater withdrawal permit hierarchy, using reclaimed water for industrial uses. And I do want to pause here for a second because I don't think I quite covered it, reclaimed water in the Planning Commission meeting on February 17th. But the reclaimed water is essentially treated wastewater. So flushing the toilet, showers, washing machines, dishwasher, that goes to the wastewater treatment plant for those that are on public sewer systems, and then that's treated, and reclaimed water can be used for uses such as this. We do provide reclaimed water currently to the wet log storage yard that's currently on 33, and several of the golf courses use reclaimed water for irrigation. We would require a water use analysis outlining the maximum annual, daily, and peak hour demands. This obviously helps Mike and Department of Public Utilities with our water supply. We also are requiring that they comply with Ordinance O-35-21, which outlines the county's pretreatment standards and local limits for wastewater discharge. We have added a section in the standards for state and federal permits. It's super short, but they have to obtain all their required state and federal permits, and they have to provide approved copies for the record. And the reason that we've included this in the standards is because we recognize that some of these state and federal permits may not be available just because of how the process works at the point of application and site plan review. So for instance, they may still be figuring out what generators they're going to use based on the availability of generators at that time. So their air permit will generally come later after we would have approved the campus or site plan. So we are requiring them that they submit the copies of the approved permits for our records. That way we have that and understand the conditions associated with those as well. So that gets us through the proposed standards. Getting more into the application and procedure of this, I wanted to give some general information. We are proposing that within the overlay district, this be an administrative conditional use permit, which would mean the public would have the ability to comment on the overlay district at public hearings, but if approved, then projects that are within the overlay district boundaries and meet the standards that we end up, if and when we adopt them, you would not see project-specific public hearings within this district. This is a slightly streamlined process. Again, the thought being that this is a proactive approach to entice data centers to go where we want them, where we think that they fit under the standards that we set. By leaving it as an administrative conditional use permit, it preserves staff's ability to apply additional conditions beyond the standards that are set. So we understand that a certain project may, they may need to put a stormwater pond outfall that encroaches slightly into the required buffer. Well, we would then want to mitigate that encroachment to ensure that we still have the full effect of the visual screening that we want. It also accounts for the inherent differences across the properties. While they're all on 33, the topography changes from site to site. So it preserves our ability to apply, conditions that we feel are needed to mitigate the impacts of a specific project on a specific property. It is important to note as well that if a data center proposal comes in and it's located outside of the technology overlay district, that would require a traditional conditional use permit, and you would see project-specific public hearings. Exception requests, we have exception requests for other requirements of our county code. Generally, those are a presentation type process. You don't have public hearings associated with those exception requests. With the technology overlay district, we are proposing that any exception request to one of the standards that we've outlined would require a conditional use permit for that exception specifically, and that obviously would require public hearings. Again, we want to try and, if we adopt this, then we're setting the boundaries where we think it can exist, and we're setting the standards that we want it to be designed to. So we don't want to make it an easy process to request an exception to the standards that we've adopted. So the procedure that we've laid out, first step would be to meet essentially with all of the relevant reviewing agencies at a development review committee meeting. We do these currently. They're basically pre-application meetings. It gives us the ability to look at a conceptual or schematic plan, provide early feedback, and inform them of the standards, answer questions about the standards and processes and things like that. Once you get through that development review committee meeting, they could then move into the submission of applications and site plans. Formal submissions, once received, would be uploaded to our land development viewer. This presentation is linked on the Planning Division website. So if you go to this slide, that is an active hyperlink. It will take you right there. You can see basically every application for development, ranging from boundary line adjustments to full-blown site plans that the county has formally received. We've got the application, we've got the plan, we've received the fees. So you would still see TOD applications once formally submitted on that to see the proposal. The review and approval, the administrative conditional use permit and site plan would be reviewed as a package. So both must need to be approved, or both would need to be approved. It would require an acknowledgement or agreement to the standards and any discretionary conditions. Basically, we want a signed acknowledgement form saying that you understand that these are the conditions you're bound by with the approval of this permit. The submittal requirements, we are proposing to require a conceptual master plan for data center campuses. The reason that that's limited to the campuses is because in the event or in the case of a standalone data center, we would see the general layout on the site plan. And again, the standalone is limited to 2 data center buildings or less. We understand that with a campus, the build out timeline is extended, and so that gives us an idea of the totality of the development that's proposed. We would require an architectural elevation package for the building facades and signage, again, the noise impact assessment and water use analysis. The site plan and supporting documents and calculations would be governed by our existing county code. Generally, those show utilities, erosion and sediment control, stormwater management, maintenance of traffic, all the stuff that usually goes into a civil site plan. We are proposing a term of validity. The intent is to ensure forward progress. We don't necessarily want to approve these items and then just have them sit on the shelf because conditions change or development patterns change within the area. So we've proposed that construction must commence within 48 months of approval. In the draft text that was included in your packets, we have said that construction would be defined as local land disturbance permits issued and earthwork starting. We recognize that it takes a while to bring these facilities online. And so, again, we want to see that forward progress without limiting their ability to develop once approved. We are proposing to allow for one 12-month extension. They would need to justify why that extension is needed, but it could be granted. And in total, that 48-month initial approval and the 12-month extension generally tracks with the site plan term of validity of 5 years. We would reserve the ability to revoke or suspend the conditional use permit, administrative conditional use permit, based on verified noncompliance that hasn't been mitigated. We would also reserve the right to terminate the use if it ceased for a period of 2 years, and that generally tracks with our nonconforming use languages in the existing zoning code. We do have some processes for amendments, change in ownership. We want to ensure that whoever has operational control of the site or the facility is aware of the conditions and, is agreeing to abide by them. So we would allow that change in ownership provided no outstanding violations of the original conditions exist that haven't been unmitigated. We would require updated acknowledgement forms. We do propose a minor amendment pathway, so that would include things such as small layout changes, potentially slight increases in gross floor area. The draft text says 20%, but based on conversations, that may be a little generous, so we will probably change that. I'm not sure if we're going to go with a percentage or just a flat square footage allowance. That would be considered as a minor amendment. Again, they must comply with the standards and conditions, and we would require updated acknowledgement forms with no outstanding violations that have been unmitigated. Major amendments would be basically anything else and would necessitate new applications in the full review and approval process. We have outlined an appeal process, so applicants affected by an administrative decision, basically from staff, denying a permit, or it could be over a discretionary condition. They could appeal to the Planning Commission by notifying our office within 30 days of the original decision. That appeal would be a public hearing. The commission could affirm, reverse, or amend the decision. They could also vacate the decision and send it back to staff for reconsideration. If an applicant is affected by the Planning Commission decision, they could appeal to the Board of Supervisors. They would have to file notice within 5 days of that decision with the clerk of the board, Ms. Wanda Watkins. That would also be a public hearing process, and again, the board may affirm, reverse, or amend the decision. They could also vacate the decision and send it back to either planning commission or staff, depending on how far back they wanted to go. So current key takeaways, we have not received any applications for data centers to date. Again, this is a proactive approach to try and manage a known industry that I think it's reasonable to assume could come to the county based on what's occurring in localities around us, our available land, our utility infrastructure, things of that nature. This is a draft, so again, it's not final. This text and everything will have to go through the public hearing process at both the Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors. Revisions may occur to the draft text based on feedback that's received. We do welcome the feedback and any questions. Again, the last slide of this presentation has an email address that citizens and everyone can send feedback and comments to. If adopted, projects within the overlay district that meet the standards would not require project-specific public hearings unless they wanted an exception to one of the standards. Projects outside of the overlay district would require public hearings, and that's where you would see your project-specific public hearings. We do anticipate community meetings in March of 26, so coming up. We have not finalized a location, date, or time yet. Our intent would be to do at least two, probably one nighttime and one daytime to try and capture everyone's availability. Again, we are accepting digital feedback and comments as well. Those community meetings will certainly be advertised on county platforms. One request that came out of Planning Commission was to ensure that the residents in that area get direct mailings. Basically, if this is going to be the chance for public input, then we want to make sure that we give everybody the opportunity and put it on everybody's radar. So we haven't figured out how that's going to work yet. These properties are primarily, they're located in District 3 and District 5. So I'm not sure that we'll do all of those districts or just look at the zip codes that are primarily kind of in the Route 33 area. So Barhamsville, Eltham, Lenexa. But we'll certainly do our part to get the word out as we finalize dates and locations. So tentative future outlook, obviously we are here at the work session in February of 26, community meetings in March of 2026. We want to get through the community meetings and we'll probably need time to address feedback and potentially make revisions. We don't want to rush that process. So at the earliest, I would see this moving forward to Planning Commission public hearings in May of 2026. And then obviously the Board of Supervisors for potential adoption afterwards. Those dates are obviously flexible. They're noticed as required. They get posted on the website. So that information will be out there as well. And then there's our question or feedback slide, planning@newkent-va.us. That is a master inbox that goes to planning staff. Again, we are tracking feedback. We intend to provide a feedback matrix with responses to questions and feedback that's received. So with that, I will turn it back over to the board and be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Aragi. Looks like you put a lot of time into this, and we certainly appreciate it. Not sure everybody's going to want it, but it's a starting point. But any questions, Ms. Stewart?
You know it, Mr. Chair. And thank you. Josh and Lindsay, thank you very much for, I know the thought and time that went into this when we talked about it last spring, I think, when we first started talking about this. I thought it was a very intentional approach to take, and I still think that you all are thinking on the right path. And of course, as probably everybody here, I've gotten a ton of feedback from a lot of my residents, and not just the residents that I hear from all the time, but kind of the gambit of folks. So in preparation for today, I went back just to look at our comprehensive plan and how this fits into it, and kind of the conversation around the water use. And I can't see Mike behind you, but I'm glad he's still here. Yeah. Well, you might have wished that in a second. I do have a couple of questions, but I want to make sure that the feedback that I've received so far, I'm able to give you now. And primarily in District 5, we care about maintaining the rural character of the district. So this is particularly alarming to the residents there, as is any change in our district, frankly, or countywide. And looking especially with the water conversation we're having right now, it feels like we're operating on two separate tracks. And I'm not sure how we rectify that. Maybe that's another conversation later on of how, water as a whole in the county is an issue. And while the specific prescriptions for the data centers using certain types of water, I think is important, I don't know if we can justify that or balance that out with the overall water opportunities that we have in the county right now. And I know statewide, we've got a lot of legislation going on that's going to change potentially some of the ways that we are able to impact the data center decisions. So that's another just aside that I keep in the back of my mind, knowing that we will have less say over what comes into the county. So I like the approach of being thoughtful about where we're going now. I also know every conversation I've had with a resident to date has been, please don't bring it here. We don't like it. They're ugly. They're loud. They take water. They take power. And I hear that and I recognize that. But every conversation I have with them, I also say, what are we doing to lessen the tax burden on the individual taxpayer? And I think that is a huge part of this conversation that we have to have. I mean, I earlier said $18 is impactful, and I believe that. I also know with the rate of electricity, what they might have to pay less in property taxes because of this will just be transferred to their Dominion energy bill. So I think those are the main areas of feedback that I've gotten so far in my district, and I'm certain that when we have these public hearings, you will hear from a lot of the same people. A couple of things for that. When you all are sending out the postcards, just make sure, I know Ms. Inman had this experience when we did the sidewalk meetings. If you mail postcards to the West Point zip codes, they go to the town of West Point too, so you have to drill down further, but she can give you those lists. And then if we can find a place that's in the corridor area to have those meetings, I know District 3 and 5 would probably really, really like that. And then 2 questions. For the 48-month requirement to commence construction, or the 5-year site plan validity, is that just industry standard, or?
So the 5-year site plan validity is in the state zoning code and then adopted by New Kent as well in our zoning code. So we tried to match the term of validity with what a site plan would typically be valid for, or the length of time that it would be valid. That makes it easy on staff to keep track of, when are things expiring. I don't necessarily want to change the term of validity specifically for this. I think we run into issues there. So yeah, that's where that comes from.
Okay. And then for under the minor amendment, go ahead.
Just to add to that, Mr. Aragi and I had many conversations about that term. Currently, in a lot of discussions with Dominion and other localities, there's a 7 to 10 year wait time for a lot of these projects because they have to order substations that are not currently, in abundance. So that was a factor into that time period as well.
Okay, thank you. And in the minor amendment section, you said that they have to have no violations. Do we keep track of state violations that these entities might have?
Not unless we are specifically notified by the state agency. So that language is more specific to us and our administrative conditional use permit conditions and the requirements of the site plan, because at the end of the day, that's what we have legal enforcement over.
Right.
Any violations of state permits, air permits, that would be handled by the state.
And do they, in your experience, do they routinely share those with you or no?
Depends on which state agency.
DEQ.
DEQ in regard, and we haven't seen a whole lot of air permits, so I'm just speaking to DEQ on the stormwater wetland side. They've been good about sharing when there's a violation in that regard. I can't speak necessarily to the air permit side.
Because one of the things that I would like to avoid in any situation in this is that we're saying we're great here, but on the state level, they're committing gross violations. I think residents of New Kent won't like either of those, but I understand that we only have control over what's in the locality. I just want to make sure we're aware of if they do have something egregious happening there, that we're not giving them special treatment here.
Certainly, and I think that, if we were to receive an amendment or anything like that, then we would do our due diligence to check with those agencies that govern those other permits to make sure that they are in compliance with those conditions as well before we approved. I mean, we may not have enforcement ability, but we can certainly double check as part of the process.
Okay. Thank you. And Mr. Chair, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart. Ms. Pearson, do you have any comment?
I can't think of anything to add. But I am glad that we are having the public meetings, and I echo Ms. Stewart that we would hope to have them in District 3, District 5 area. I have gotten a lot of feedback as well. I expect to get a lot more, and I hope that I do get a lot more. I think it's really important that we listen to these citizens and address their concerns. So I am looking forward to the public meetings. I would imagine they'll maybe March and April, both. That seemed a little aggressive to me, timeline-wise, but we do need to get the word out there, and I welcome any citizen feedback. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pearson. Mr. Evelyn?
Maybe questions for Mr. Lang. How much reclaimed water now do we have available? I know that the paper mill, they have a contract for so much every year, so we have to keep that.
We have a contract. We have a contract with the mill for 100,000 a day, so that leaves 400,000 available daily
400,000 daily.
and growing.
And I see,
Yes, gallons.
okay. And then, you're doing 2 minimum buildings per campus. Am I reading that correctly? I mean, if you, on 25 acres?
So we've set a quote-unquote standalone data center, not considered a campus, is 2 or less. A campus would be 3 data center buildings or more.
I need 100 acres for that, is what you're proposing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Evelyn. Mr. Rogley, a quick question. In your remarks, in your opening agenda item, it says data center development is proposed or occurring in many adjacent localities, some successful and some unsuccessful.
Yes, sir.
Can you explain that? I mean, what would we do to make it unsuccessful?
I don't
Or
think
the
it's
data
necessarily what we would do to make it
Or the data
unsuccessful.
company.
It's just recognizing that data center development is occurring around us. Obviously, we have White Oak Technology Park in Henrico. Successful. It exists. It's there. And that the successful is just based on its existence. I'm not saying that their permit conditions and
Right.
all of that. And obviously I think the most recent one was Hunting Hawk in Hanover. That went to public hearing and was denied. So in that sense, it was unsuccessful. So the point of that is just, it's a reality that we live in currently. It's going on around us. And again, we've taken the last really 5 months to draft and research and investigate to try and take that proactive approach on how is the county going to manage data center development? Because as of right now, data centers are not a listed land use in our land use table. And the way our code is structured is any land use that is not in that table can come in for a conditional use permit. So it doesn't prohibit them from applying. It would require a public hearing at this point. But again, you run into the potential of cherry picking properties throughout the county, and maybe what's adjacent to that property really shouldn't be next to a data center. That's one of the big complaints from certainly Northern Virginia is data centers proximity to neighborhoods, parks, schools, you name it. So again, we've tried to do our homework as best we can to provide a proactive approach and propose some standards that would, be specific to New Kent in an area that, could support it. I mean, again, it's the 33 corridor is a known industrial corridor. It's existed that way for some time now. The future land use map and the comprehensive plan supports industrial and economic opportunity development on that corridor. And there's a plethora of by right uses that are listed in our land use table that could go in those zoning districts. Things such as logistics and distribution facilities, restaurants in economic opportunity, like manufacturing,
Concrete plants?
concrete plants. There's a number of by right uses that could develop just under our existing zoning. So again, we tried to find an area, with a dense combination of suitable properties to try and make the boundaries of this.
Thank you, sir. And then another question is, if the board was to authorize a technology overlay district, then would any data center wanting to build a center there still have to come before the board to get a conditional use permit?
So the way that this is currently structured is if the overlay is adopted and a project wants to go within those boundaries and abide by the standards that we've proposed, then no, it would be an administrative conditional use permit.
See, I think that's what a lot of people are upset about. I really do.
And I understand, I guess there's several options for the board. Ultimately it's your all's decision. So the overlay district was proposed to try and pick the area of the county that we thought, based on suitability and a number of other factors, could support it. And obviously to entice developers to go there, a slightly easier process through the administrative conditional use permit. So that's where we are with this. You could, in theory, you could adopt the standards if you're okay with the standards, and just require a conditional use permit without the overlay boundaries. But then again, you run into cherry picking properties across the county, but the board would have the say. I'd have to check on this one, but with Mr. Hefty and the legality of it, but I'm assuming you could adopt the boundaries with a conditional use permit public hearing process and prohibit data centers elsewhere outside of those boundaries. So there's different variations of this depending on what the board wants to do. I think there's pros and cons to each of them. Certainly I think having the data or the overlay district boundaries gives the county a very good legal footing in denying projects outside of those boundaries. Like I said, there's pros and cons to both. There's different variations. This is, again, just our proposal with what we've come up with, and we'll take feedback from the board on which direction we want to continue.
Thank you, sir. It also seems to me that the prime location is District 5. And I don't know why it is, except that's pristine farmland that, a lot of the farmers farm and crops are planted here in the county and produced here in the county. So I don't know why we're always picking on District 5. I really don't. I know several years ago there was a target shooting range wanted to come established out there, and the citizens over there fought it. We won. And then when the Men's Rehab Center wanted to relocate at Macamee Woods, the citizens over there were against that, and we defeated that. So, but I just don't know why it's always District 5.
I think, and we certainly hear that. from citizens, and we monitor Facebook and social media and things like that. The properties that are proposed to be in the overlay district, they don't encroach into Barhamsville and on Farmers Drive. They are adjacent to those areas on the 33 corridor. These properties, again, based on the future land use map, kind of the long-term vision for the county, are shown as economic opportunity and industrial. And all of the properties, except one currently, are currently zoned economic opportunity or industrial. I think part of the reason that this area is highlighted or was highlighted by the consultant is certainly the usable acreage. Because again, we're proposing large setbacks, large buffers beyond what any other development type currently requires.
I think
it's
it would take a hell of a buffer to hide an 85-foot building.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not going to disagree with you on that. We've proposed, and those buffers can change depending on the direction of the board and the feedback that we get. We can increase them if needed. Again, this was our first attempt at proposing standards to manage an industry that I think has a potential to look at New Kent. So,
okay.
I'll just add on that a big part of that, echoing what Mr. Ragi's saying, is focusing areas where the comprehensive plan has us at either economic opportunity or industrial. And again, a lot of the development that's already marketed out here, these sites are marketed for industrial or economic opportunity currently. They're ones that see projects that could be manufacturing, they could be industrial in nature, and we felt that aligned with what had been approved through the comprehensive plan process.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
You sparked another question. Besides that, everyone wants to be in District 5. I get it. Have you all been in conversations with any of the landowners that would be covered under this?
Yes, we've contacted and I've spoken personally to each of the landowners that are in this overlay district to notify them and get their feedback, and did not have any landowners with any specific really negative or positive. Either way, just thank you for the notification, and look forward to seeing how the process turns out.
And do you know about how many landowners specifically it is?
It's approximately 8.
There are 4 landowners total. Some of it, a large portion of it, is owned by Mr. Kinney, who owns a lot of the land on 33. Mm-hmm. Kubas LLC owns a piece on the corner of Route 30 and 33. It was recently timbered within the last year or so. Mr. Reynolds, I believe, owns
Correct.
the portion adjacent to that. His property actually extends on both sides of Route 30 or Route 33. With the boundaries, we've proposed to limit the overlay district to the southern portion of his property on the south side of Route 33. The north side has some kind of weaving property lines, so when you lay out the potential setbacks and buffers, it really reduces the area. You also have a private road that runs kind of on the back side of that property. So that kind of goes back to us looking at adjacent land uses as well in this proposal. And then the last one is Mr. Curtis that owns the 2 pieces closest to 64.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Thanks for all your work, and thanks to you, Ms. Hart. Appreciate it. Next on the agenda is the Nomination Board of Equalization. I think we only have one. Am I right? Do what? Oh, I thought it was you. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. All right. Is there any other business?
Mr. Chair, if I
Yes.
could just remind the public that there's a March 5th community meeting on Pine Fork Ridge development off of Pine Fork Road from 6 to 7:30 at Fire Station 5. And please come out and give us your input. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? The next regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Supervisors will be held at 6 p.m. on Monday, March 9th, 2026. And the next work session will be held at 9 a.m. on Wednesday, March 25th, 2026 in the boardroom of the County Administration Building. The board will also meet for a budget retreat at 9 a.m. on Friday, March 13th, 2026 at the Providence Forge Recreation Center located at 1100 Carriage Road. Thank you. Mr. Hathaway, do you have any comments?
No, sir.
Okay.
Motion for adjournment?
Yeah, please. Ms. Watkins, would you poll the members?
Ms. Pearson,
Aye.
Ms. Stewart,
Aye.
Mr. Evelyn,
Aye.
and Mr. Steers.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.